Support the Amigos podcast on Patreon or PayPal and receive cool perks and rad swag. Visit our page at everythingamiga.com/support.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about Nick Faldo's championship golf. Aaron, do you have a favorite professional golfer of all time?
Professional golf. You know, I'm not going to lie to you, Boot. I'm not a big golf watcher. But I would say, let's go with Fuzzy Zeller, Lee Trevino. I like those guys. Of course, Jack, the Golden Bear. I liked him
Local,
as well.
Sort of.
Arnie.
Yeah.
Arnold Palmer. You know, he was okay. I think I've hit most of the high notes. I mean, I was, by the time Tiger Woods was out there killing it, and I did catch some of his stuff, but I mean, in fact, I recall he had a big sudden death victory in Kentucky at the U.S. Open, I believe it was. It was like a
Valhalla.
real famous. I remember watching that on TV. It was a real big deal, but I haven't followed golf for quite a while, to be completely honest with you. I really never followed it that closely, but Wide World of Sports. I had a little bit of knowledge about everything for a while. What about you?
You know, I'm surprised that you didn't mention John Daly. Do you know who John Daly is?
Oh, the big fat drunk hillbilly.
Yeah.
I do enjoy his antics.
I figured he'd be number one with a bullet. He's one of my favorites. I like him. I like Angel Cabrera. I basically like anybody that smokes a whole lot on the course, you know, because I mean, like, you know, when you're doing that, you're in it to win it.
Yeah. That's big golf and bowling. You can sort of be a bum and still, especially if you're a big tubby guy, you can still crush the ball.
That's right. Probably not so much, you know, that's sort of the thing that ruined sports is when everybody started conditioning, you know. It used to be you could roll out, if you played baseball, you could roll out there with a huge gut. And you
Bob
could crush.
Horner, remember him?
That's right.
He used to come out there and he was killing it for Atlanta. I like those guys, big tubby guys.
My favorite is Payne Stewart. Payne Stewart, do you remember him?
Yeah.
So his shtick was that he wore like the old timey golf clothes, and he wore the flat cap and the plus fours, the big baggy trousers. So I dig anybody that can rock a wardrobe like that.
He was trying. You know, hey, if I had those clothes, I'd wear them full time. They look comfy. You know. Yeah. Maybe not the hat. I don't know about that.
That's the only kind of hats I wear.
Especially with the ones with the gimmick on top, a little fuzzy gimmick. But otherwise, I
think that he left out the gimmick most of the time. He only
Yeah.
brought that out for special occasions. So anyway, this is Nick Faldo's championship golf. You were talking about Lee Trevino. Did you know he had his own golf game?
Yeah, fighting golf.
Fighting golf. So
Yeah.
which one are you going to play? Fighting golf or championship golf?
Neither one, because I've got Jack's golf game right on my back shelf over here for the Amiga. So I've got that's another one which I think. Although really, let's face facts, we both like the same game. If we picked if you're going to pick a singular golf game, video game wise, it would probably be Neo Turf Masters. I will say, I do like other golf games. I've got this arcade game called Skins Game. It was from Midway. It was a lot of fun. It would use the trackball. It used it had a special controller that was like a flipper. Remember John Elway's football had one of those? It was like
pull
that.
It back and go,
And it works great for golf. It's surprising. I think you've played that with us,
you have
before.
it's like a cocktail cabinet.
That's right. So I do enjoy that one. Golden Tee 2. I really like that one with the trackball. I mean, the Golden Tee's got pretty awesome, but that one I remember specifically because I had it on the main cabinet, so I like that one too. What were your favorites aside from Neo Turf?
I played a lot of NES golf, just the original golf.
Yeah.
I probably played more of that than anything because me and my buddy, my roommate in college, my sophomore year, we would just come home from class, and instead of doing our work, we would just sit there and we'd play round after round of NES golf to where we both got so good at it, we'd play 18 holes tied every time with the best score that you could get. We figured out basically how to beat the game, but we kept playing it. We went to a party one time, and we were just kind of hanging out, and it was sort of boring. And I was like, "Hey, you wanna go play some golf?" And he's like, "Yeah, let's go." And so and there were these two beautiful girls that walked up to us with drinks in their hands, and they're like, "Hey, you guys want to stick around and hang out?" We're like, "Nope, we're going to play NES golf. See you later."
Did this really happen?
This really happened. We did not. I did not actually say we're going to play NES golf, but we did excuse ourselves. And on the way out, we were like, "What did we just do?" And he's like, "Well, maybe we should have stayed, but it was too late by that point. The die had been cast. We had to go back and play some golf."
Would you consider that younger version of you a big old nerd, Boat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's
It's
it.
sort of like the current version of me, a big old nerd.
Well, except you didn't walk out when Eep was like, "Hey, let's get married." You were like, "Yeah."
That's true.
So
That's
at least
true.
you had one non-nerd moment. Good move.
That's a good point. That's
Yeah.
a good point. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, really you can say that most of my favorite games aside from leaderboard or on the consoles, we'll talk about why that is as we get into this game, because some of the things that plague Nick Faldo plague all the PC golf games in some way or another. But it's not time for that, Aaron. It's time to talk about what's been going on over on the Amigos Retro Gaming YouTube channel.
All right, man. Let's check it out. So, had an interesting week this week, Boat. And we're going to start off here. Of course, we're not even going to dwell on this too much, but you did have some video rounds here on Nick Faldo's Championship Golf, which we'll talk about that in a little while. So if you want to watch Boat have a go at Nick Faldo's Golf, it's up there on YouTube. Boat, explain to me what's going on here with the Boat Real Hardware Wild and Wacky NES stream.
All right.
Sounds
so,
wacky.
Yeah, I
recognize
sat
that
down.
game.
This is from a couple weeks ago. November. This was put up on November 29th. Actually, I did this stream even 2 weeks before that. I decided that it was time to whip out the EverDrive and just play some random stuff on the Nintendo. You know, the Nintendo is my favorite system, the original NES. And so what I did was I fired up the EverDrive and I just sort of played random games. You know, I went and I took some requests from the chat, played 720. I played a game called Gun Knack, which is a really awesome shooter. I played a game that Rushi recommended that was super, super awesome. It was sort of like a Ninja Gaiden meets Big Trouble in Little China game, and I can't think of the name of it, but maybe he'll tell me in the chat because I can't remember. We played American Gladiators. That's what you're watching right now, the wall climb and
This
American
looks awesome.
Gladiators. Yeah.
I've never
It's
tried
actually-
this.
It's actually a pretty good game.
I wish it was like that in real life. Now that's a wall climb.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I want to see the guys do. Look at that. There's an S curve. There's walls. Where did that
It's a
guy come
challenge,
from?
man.
What?
You got bodies flying everywhere. It's like Starcade 87 all over again.
That's awesome.
So anyway, if you want to check out me playing some NES and yakking it up with the chat, Vice Project Doom. Thank you, Rushi. You can check that out. Boat's Real Hardware Wild and Wacky NES stream.
That's good stuff right there, Boat. Well, let's talk about it. I guess we might as well get into it a little bit there, Boatster. It went down.
Did you almost call me hose?
A Boatster. I almost called. I don't know what I was thinking, frankly. It went down. In fact, it was a week ago. Today, right now.
Seems like years ago.
Yeah.
Really seems like a long time ago now.
It was the ARG Thanks for Giving Marathon. And you talk about a ramshackle affair, Boatster. We barely got this one in, but everything came together, and with the Brent's technical genius and my ability to exploit those that have genius, we put it to film 8 hours of gameplay and world premiere shows, and we played a lot of Steam-based Retro Arch beta. If you are into emulation, and if you're into playing with your buddies online via emulation, then have I got the show for you. I just went through Boat and clipped out all of our gameplay out of the marathon and just compiled it into one 4-hour video of nothing but me and Brent playing retro games via Retro Arch via Steam. It's actually a pretty good system once they work out some of the kinks. And
I was very impressed. I was very impressed
surprised
to watch you guys, because I wasn't expecting for you guys to go all out on this. I figured you'd do some hot seat multiplayer games, not try and test the waters too much, but you went right into it. You were playing beat 'em ups, all kinds of stuff that taxes the network. So this thing really performed well, at least looking at it from the outside in.
Let me explain something to you. All right, when we were coming up with this wacky plan, I said, Brent, we can play some hot seat stuff. That'll work out great. Brent forbade it because that wasn't nearly challenging or blood curdling enough. He wanted hot one-on-one action all the time. He wanted us to play. So we did. We played Final Fight. We played Knights of the Round. We had a full 18 holes of Neo Turf Masters. We played tons of Burger Time. We played tons of stuff. So if you want to watch this, and it's also kind of neat to see how the Retro Arts on Steam works. I mean, to a certain degree, you'll see what it looks like to people. Because I was actually the one Brent was actually streaming it. So anything you see here was effectively based on our connection, and Brent's connection wasn't great. So as you understand, Bo. But my connection seems to be doing pretty well. So if you want to watch 4 hours of that, and we'd like to also thank everyone who turned out. We just did a huge number on Twitch, Bo. We had a ton of people show up for this and watch it. And for various amounts of time, and we appreciate everybody showing up. I would say 100 times as many people watched this year's Thanksgiving than watched last year's, which admittedly we didn't do a real good job of promoting last year's boat, as you painfully showed me over and over. So thanks again for everybody for popping out. We'll be back with a normal ARG this Sunday. One quick note: we have moved the start time of ARG to 10 a.m. 10 a.m. because it was killing me to do it so early. So Brent threw me a bone here. So starting this week, we'll be doing the show at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week we're doing 4-player games, Bo. I think we got a couple winners, so it should be fun.
I'm ready. I can't wait to watch it.
We got a buddy. He's a genius of a man. He's named Jack Flack, and he's got a couple offerings here to look at. First out of the gates here. The Flaxter plays some straight up old school, one of my favorites, Donkey Kong Jr. on the C64 boat. Pretty good looking game here, Bo, if I may say.
It looks great. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, that looks awesome. I love this game. And this is one of those games I remember hanging out. There's a store in Dunbar, which is a city near here, called Murphy's Mart. It's long gone. But Murphy's Mart had a little arcade in it, and I remember seeing this game in there for a long time. And I had no money, so I remember hanging out and just watching the attract screen of this for years. For like every time my mom shopped there, I went back to the arcade and just sat there and looked at this. Or I usually would play the couple quarters she gave me, and after I failed horribly, I'd watch other people play. But it was still, this is a good game. Of course, you got Jack Flack here. It's not just him playing games; it's always story time with Jack, and he's got a lot of wacky, interesting stories. So check him out. He's been streaming a lot here recently. And I think it's some good stuff. Let's also talk about his other offering this week. Sprite Castle plays Karateka, which I believe the Sprite Castle this week is on Karateka. In fact, I know it is. And this is Flack going to work on Karateka. He's got an interesting story about him buying this as a kid, getting this as a gift on the Apple II, which is amusing to say the least. But if you want to, I've always liked this game. But remember, we covered this on the Amigos when they ported it over.
It happened so long ago that I'd forgotten that we'd done it. I was like, surely we did. I don't remember that. But yeah, episode 40.
Yeah,
which is
I remember.
literally
I
5
demanded it.
years ago,
I demanded it. I was like, we got to do this because this is one of my favorite games. I don't remember if you liked it that much or not. What's your opinion on Karateka?
I know that you're a big Mechner fan.
I am.
I've sort of been. I think I seriously think it's a generational thing. I think this stuff doesn't seem as impressive as some of the other stuff. Like I realize it's the whole like rotoscope, smooth animation thing, but the gameplay in both this and Prince of Persia it doesn't do anything for me. So
I mean, you may be right. First of all, I think Prince of Persia is one of the all-time great games. I really do sincerely believe that. Man, look at Flack.
Brutal.
He just walked right in to get insta killed. But the rotoscoping, that graphical technique was so incredible at the time. It really was, and you're right. If you didn't understand it, if it's not new to you, it wouldn't be that big a deal. But it was huge deal to me. I think that's all we've got, Bo, except for one other thing we'll talk about during the show tonight.
Sure.
So that's what we're looking at this week on Everything Amiga's YouTube channel.
All right, Aaron. Well, let's jump right into this week's Amiga news.
All right. Let's get it going, Boaster. You want to tackle first here, Boat? How about this one?
Well, we're gonna start with our buddy Ravi has just returned to the fold. Actually, he's been doing this a lot lately, but it's been a while since we've covered our buddy, the Formula DJ Formula. I like this one because Ravi's out in his garden. He's
Yeah.
mixing it up with the chickens. He's got sunflowers out there, and he's spinning some virtual discs on his twin Amiga 1200s. I love there is a YouTube channel that I watch all the time. I support them on Patreon. It's called My Analog Journal. And all it is it's got these DJs in all these different places in the world, and they're playing this music from other countries. But the thing that I like about it is they all have such great setups. Like they're either set up in their garden or they've got like a special room that's really sunny and stuff. And I love looking at that stuff. So I was so happy to watch this set by Ravi out in his garden, just mourning those days. We're not going to see days like that for a while, Aaron. Those days are over here in the States for a while, at least until maybe April or May.
You got that right. I recall long ago, I believe in Discord, where Robbie was actually showing pictures of him putting his garden together, like getting all this crap situated. So it is neat to actually see it now. And he does. I like the fact he's got the big sunflowers out there right beside him. What a beautiful scene for the DJ to lay down some soulful Amiga tunage, DJ style. So good stuff. I like it, man. I approve.
Another one of our buddies, RMC, is back with part 2 of his Amiga 600 video. If you recall from his part 1 of his series, he talks about how the Amiga 600 was initially a big disappointment, and he wanted nothing to do with it. Well, in this video, he talks more about that, and we actually get into the nuts and bolts of him putting in these new capacitors, firing it up, testing it out, and his reaction to the system on the whole. So make sure you check that out if you are an aspiring Amiga 600 owner, because who knows, maybe it will be you that's replacing those caps next time.
You know, the power supply's got there. That's the same outfit that I bought mine from. And actually, that's the advanced version of the one I've got. But
gives you the voltages and
shell,
stuff all on the screen. Yeah.
But I'll watch this. I'm telling you, I've got a ton of stuff around here, Boat, that needs recapped. And I'm just gonna tell you, I'm not doing it.
You're an anti-capper. You don't.
No,
believe
it's not because I don't
happens.
believe in it. Oh no, I know it happens. It's just that I'm just too lazy. And so what I'll do is at some point I'll pay a dude to do it. I don't have the patience, because I also have to solder a lot of stuff at work, and I just can't. It's just like the old mechanic. His car never works. That's sort of the way I look at it. But it was fun. I like watching Neil work on his stuff. It's interesting to see what he's got cooking here with the 6. It's like we've mentioned before with the vampires. The 6000 went from like the ultra dud to like one of the most sought after machines. It's fun. It's the worm has turned, Bode. So good on Neil.
Yeah,
I liked it.
All right, coming up next, there is a new game out there for the Amiga, and you're going to need a high-end system to play it.
What?
This game is called Heart of Darkness. I know, shocking, right? This was originally a PC and PlayStation release, and I guess that it has been ported to the Amiga. It looks like a 2D platformer, very stylized in the vein of Out of This World or something like that. Or Another World, I guess, is what they call it overseas. But at any rate, these are the system requirements, Aaron. You need to have an advanced CPU, so at least an 020, but you probably need an 060. I mean, who's kidding who? You need an 02. You need the JIT in there. You got to have that. And most importantly, you actually need the files from the original game to play this. So you got to have that system disk. He's not bending the knee to the gray market in this one. You gotta pop in that disk there if you want to be able to play this game. So anyway,
let me ask you a question, Boat. Heart of Darkness here. Is this the same one that was out on the Sega CD? Back in the day.
I'm guessing that it probably is, because I don't know.
This is the
according
sequel
to Indie Retro News.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
According to Indie Retro News, this came out in the late 90s, so we're past sort of the heyday of the Sega CD, but it could be.
This is the first I've heard of this one. I'll be honest with you. That it says here, we're watching the video, and it says it's slow, and it does look incredibly slow on a 1200 040. So basically, this is a little something for the folks that have the Mega system, is what you're saying,
right?
Or emulation.
Right.
So hey,
exactly.
that's nice. Nothing wrong with that, Boots.
No, no. So anyway, that's something to check out. Here's another interesting development in the field of hardware, Aaron. This was actually posted. This is a copy and pasted image from an Amiga Facebook page, and this is David Haney's Commodore Amiga. He's posted on the Commodore Amiga blog, or not blog, the Facebook page, that he is developing a new Buster schematic, Aaron. We how many years have we yearned for a new Super Buster, you and I? I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's finally happening. It's finally happening. This is a new design that's using a small FPGA. It's going to be much better designed than the original Busters out there. So you can pop this new bad boy in your A3000 or A4000, and you can just go to town doing all that stuff that the Buster does.
I will say we like Dave Haney.
Yeah.
Of course, that was your famous interview with Dave from this year. I almost said last year. And God, that seems like so long ago. We say that every week, but that seemed like 1,000 years ago since you interviewed him. And we know he's a brilliant guy, obviously friend of the community, big player. And so, hey, we'll just wait and see what he does. I know he's looking for some schematics. So clearly, whatever he's up to, he's just at the beginning of it. But he's a genius.
Stay tuned. I'm sure we're gonna have more news about that coming soon.
I would wager so. Yeah.
Speaking of coming soon, Aaron, there is a new expo coming up. I just said it's new again. It's not new. It's been going on for years. It's World of Commodore 2020, Aaron.
World of
And
Commodore.
it's coming your way. It is this Saturday, December 5th, 2020, via Zoom and YouTube. This thing is running 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Of course, it's virtual this year. And if you want to check out the Toronto Pet Users Group in the show notes, you can see all the different presentations. We got Chris Abbott, who is going to be a big part of the music scene, is going to be presenting. But of course, the star of the show, right in the heart, 2 p.m., that coveted 2 p.m. time slot, the one and only 10 mark, Douglas Compton, is doing a presentation on 80-column business software.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, listen, Doug is the man for this sort of work, man.
This, if ever he was born for a purpose, it was to talk about 80-column business software on the Commodore 128.
I don't know if you've been watching his most recent Chicken Lips Chronicles, where he's he got a bunch.
That name kind of grosses me out, so I never watched those videos.
Well, yeah, it's not the best, but he's been toying with. I've been learning via his show about the Commodore 64 and the 128 and its 80-column abilities. We didn't have that kind of stuff on the Coco. At least I'm sure Curtis will chime in here in a second. Be like,
I truly believe that is the thing that stopped,
Chicken Chronicles. Sorry, Doug. Chicken Lips is a much worse name. Where did I get that?
But I really think the lack of 80-column support was the death knell for. I mean, there were all kinds of ways around it. Half res modes and stand other carts and things you could slide in. But the thing is, if you're a business, you're going to want as many columns as you can get for those spreadsheets, and that's what the PC gave you. The Apple II, the Apple IIe had an expansion board that you could slot in, but that was something that, at least the folks at Atari, there was no real way to do that out of the box. So.
Yeah. Well, I will say, like I said, if you just a little side news note, if you're in a Commodore 64 and the 128. Doug has put out some really interesting stuff. Like I said, I'm not into them, frankly, but I mean, it's still interesting to watch him tinker with this stuff and try to get it to work and the monitors. He had one where it wouldn't display. That the 80 column was screwing up, and he had to go and try to figure out what was going on. I found it pretty interesting myself. Of course, I'm kind of a tech head, so if you're into that, check out Doug. But yeah, this looks good. It's a shame that they have to have all this stuff virtual, but at least it looks like they're gonna have a good show. We may have to kick in and look at some of this stuff. Boatster might be kind of fun.
Man.
That's coming up tomorrow, right?
It's tomorrow.
All right, there you go.
All right, Aaron. And our final story this week, there is a new gadget that you can use. You can use a Raspberry Pi to make a go-between between your Amiga and an HDMI monitor. So you can get HDMI output through a dongle and a Raspberry Pi. So all you need is a Raspberry Pi Zero, a micro SD card, a mini HDMI adapter, and some HDMI extension to reach the outside of the computer case. That's all you need, except for I think you need this other thing too. You need like the special board that you probably don't know how to make. But if you have those things all together, you can get, and I mean, this has got to be the cheapest way to get HDMI out of your Amiga possible. Because I mean, a Raspberry Pi Zero is $5. $5. That's it. So if you're looking for a new way to get the best quality signal you can out of your Amiga, and you've got a modern display to hook it up to, check this out. This is the Copper Dragon Amiga Digital Video Project over on GitHub.
This is quite a revelation. This is the first I've heard of this boaster, and I like that. I'm going to definitely look into that. Because that, I'm telling you, God knows we know the pain of video output on the Amiga, and HDMI, you can't beat it out. Yeah, that's something to look into, Boat. More coming on that as I get into it a little bit more.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. All right, and that's going to do it. It's been a pretty good week for Amiga news. We want to thank all the people that submitted stories to us over on Discord, and of course our good buddy over at Indie Retro News for just a everlasting fountain of new game news.
Absolutely, thank you very much.
All right, Aaron, it's time to get into it. Let's talk some Nick Faldo's championship golf.
All right, man, Nick Faldo. Now, we didn't really get into Nick himself. Were you a fan of the Nickster back in the day? Did you watch?
He wasn't really. I mean, like I recognized the name, but he wasn't really on my. I didn't really start watching golf. I think maybe until after he was sort of in his twilight years as a player.
Yeah, you would be. Well, he was pretty early for you. So Nick, now let's get into this straight away. Nick Faldo's championship golf. There are two versions of this, and we're going to sort of focus on one version, but I want to touch on the other one real quick. So, this game got two releases. It got a release on the OCS ECS Amigas in '92, and that was developed by ARG Developments. And then it got a release in '94. On the CD32. Now, this is the one that me and Boat sort of focused on. Now, we both...
Well, no. I actually went back to the ECS OCS version. I didn't give up on this game.
I tried them both, so we can chat about both.
I've got a lot to say about both.
Yeah, but so of course the CD32 came on the CD32, one CD, and you'll notice that I mentioned that these two have two different developers. Boat. This is the second time that we've seen this where we got two different developers for these. The developer for the original OCS ECS was developed by ARG Developments. ARG has done a bunch of stuff on the Amiga and some real duds and some good stuff. They're all over the map. They went from the highs of R-Type 2 to the low, desolate lows of WWF European Rampage, which was just the dirt worst. They've did a bunch of other stuff, some arcade stuff, Dragon Breed, Forgotten Worlds. So they had done a bunch of stuff, and you had a different outfit doing the one for the CD32, which was Images software. Now, they didn't do that much on the Amiga. They did Chips Challenge, Shadow Dancer, and Space Gun. So it is odd to me.
Were those? Oh, what I was curious about, were those all CD32 games?
No.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if maybe they just got in, for the CD32 in particular.
What I think's odd about this, and we won't dwell on the two different. Well, I mean, we'll have to talk about the differences because there are differences. But,
I'm going to talk a ton about it. Because
but I guess
spent just as much time talking, doing both.
Right, but I guess what I wanted to start off with, Boat, and I'm going to toss this right over to you, is for this being effectively the same game. It's pretty different in a lot of ways, isn't it, Boat? And why don't you? Because you actually played Nick Faldo way back, so you were more intimate with the original. Tell us about how these games are the same and how they're different, Boat.
Okay, so graphically, the CD32 version looks a little bit better. I think that there is a slight facelift in the CD32 version. This is still very much a 16-bit golf game. I mean, you really see a change once you get over into the PlayStation era of golf games where things start to look really a lot better. But this definitely is a step above, the C64 golf games. And you can't say that about a lot of Amiga golf games. Like, I've played almost every golf game on the Amiga, and there are some that you could put on a C64 and nobody would know. So this thing looks pretty good. what this game does is it is pretty bare bones in terms of, the options when you start. You have two courses to choose from. You can choose the season that you play in, which is kind of neat. Not every game offers that.
Yeah.
You get to choose your caddy, and
Yes, you do.
you choose the clubs that are in your bag, and away you go. Now, an option that a lot of people miss is the option to choose whether or not you want to play as an amateur. Do you know anything about this, Aaron?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So tell me about what's the difference between the amateur and the pro?
Well, you can mulligan every hole.
Exactly.
Which that's a little much. And not to jump on
not every hole, you can mulligan every shot.
Every shot, yeah. And so what this means is when you play with amateur on, because I at first I didn't use it because I didn't see the button there. I will say the interface in this needs work, but we'll get to that. But I hit the button, and what I thought I would get was like help with club selection, something like that. That's usually what you get.
Mm-hmm.
But it just lets you mulligan every single shot you take, even when they're good shots, even when you sink the ball, you can mulligan it. And so what that ends up doing is getting irritating.
Well, yes and no. I mean, it's the ultimate way to practice this game.
Yeah.
Because if you want to practice a putt, and even if you sink it, you're like, well, I'm still not sure exactly what I did. Let me try that one more time. It's perfect. So not a lot of games offer that. Now, what would have been great is some sort of in-between thing where maybe you could turn that off, but still keep the ability to mulligan, because it is sort of annoying when you sink a putt to have to choose.
Have you ever seen a game that gives you that? I've never seen a single golf game where you can mulligan every single shot in the game.
There's a lot of things in this game that I've never seen in another golf.
That's a weird choice. I wonder if Nick was on out the course.
Yeah.
No wonder he's so renowned.
Using the old hand wedge. I've been known to do that from time to time. So this game, I'm going to talk about the ECS OCS version first. Okay. So the way that you select a shot in this game, is that you're on the course, and you've got a cursor in front of you, a little white cross-shaped cursor. Okay, so you put that wherever you want it. Okay, but in addition to that, you can also choose where you aim. So you can click left or right, and that will aim you. Now, this is one of these games, and this is just endemic to the software, is that it's got to load, So now, unlike Leaderboard, where it draws the scene in, in that sort of Leaderboard-esque way, which I don't even know if the Amiga version did that or if it was the 8-bit versions, but that's always what I think about when I think about golf scenes loading, is that it draws from the back forward. But it does take some time. And when you do that, you also have to reset all of your other stuff. It's like the whole thing resets itself. So once you get into place, the next thing you have to do is you have to choose the amount of power that you want to use on your shot. Now, what a lot of golf games do is they combine your power and into the swing meter. So the further out, the swing meter goes up is how hard you hit the ball. That's not the way Nick Faldo works on the ECS OCS. The way it works here is that you've got, and you're not going to see this if you're watching the video version because we're watching the CD32 version, but there's a red bar that you can actually move up and down with the mouse to control how hard you want to hit the ball. 100%, 70%, whatever. And so what you have to do is you have to do some mental math, because you've got your club lengths that are in the manual. And so if you can hit the driver 300 yards, well, if I only hit it, 90, if I hit it 90%, how many yards is that going to take me out, and all this stuff. Now, the good news is that it does give you pretty precise control over where you hit it, as long as you do the rest of the stuff right, which is what we're going to get to next. So after you select, and one more thing about this bar, in a way, this is one of the more realistic golf games that's ever been made. And I'll tell you why. Well, there's a couple reasons, but one is that if you're really playing golf, you can't hit a driver with a half swing. You can't really even hit a driver with a 3/4 swing. A driver, all your woods are pretty much, you're hitting them as hard as you can because of the way the club is designed. When you hit with irons, you can take 3/4 swings. You can take half swings and still get a good shot. And this game knows that. And so you can't hit a driver at 50%. Now, in a game like Turf Masters, you totally can. You just ratchet it up 50% and then hit it. So in a way, this is a much more realistic simulation of golf. Also, the way that you hook and slice the ball Okay, so let's go on to the actual swing meter itself. So picture, if you will, in your mind, a long rectangular bar, and it's cut up into two shaded sections. The first shaded section is on the left side. The second shaded section, which is, I'm making my own tongue twister here, is on the right side, and that one is various lengths depending on the club. Okay, the first shaded section is your what's called the wrist snap. Okay, and this is supposed to give you extra length on your club. So you hit the mouse button, you immediately have to hit the mouse button again to get the wrist snap, and then you've got to hit the mouse button 2 more times within the second shaded section to hit the ball straight. Okay, if it sounds complicated, it is.
Yeah, it's
very
super hard.
complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what makes the game extra hard is the second shaded section is very small. You have to do the Brent level clicking with your mouse in terms of speed to get a shot off without hooking or slicing with the driver. Even at a 90% shot, it's still impossible for me to do it. Now you can compensate for this a little bit by shifting your stance, but not nearly enough. So what the game turns into is that you end up having to use the irons for everything because the irons are easier to hit. Now, as somebody who plays golf in real life, again, this is accurate. This is accurate to the game of golf. It's much, much easier to hit a 7-iron straight than it is to hit a driver straight. That's just the mechanics of the game. So again, this is a realistic thing. However, do you want that much realism in your golf game? And the Amiga community resounded with a definite no, because when the CD32 version of this game appeared, that whole system was gone.
Yeah.
They replaced it with a system that's very similar to any golf game where you have a power meter. It comes back and your second click is going to be to the left or the right of the sweet spot, your hook or slice. Now, even in the CD32 version of the swing meter, it's still ultra sensitive. You can still hook or slice. There's no mercy in the swing meter.
I've never hooked or sliced so much at a golf game. I was It's hard. We
go
played
left.
a ton of
You're
these
going
too.
left and right down the court down the course all the time.
Yeah.
Putting in this game, on the other hand, is quite easy. The putting system in this game actually is I found it quite easy to sink long putts all the time. Basically, you just line your shot up. You've got a generic circular meter. You fill it up with about as much as you think it'll go, and it usually goes in. Putting, it's like they felt bad that they made the other clubs so difficult, so they made the putting part pretty easy.
Yeah, the approach I found, just to get to the ECS version before we move on, that meter. First of all, have you ever seen a game that you set the power like that? And I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. And it took me a while to figure out. I had to get the docks. I was like, what am I doing here?
Right.
And all the
it's
clicking.
It's one of these things where, because I just didn't understand it, I would always, because you always start out with the driver, and I would try and move that gauge up and down, and I can only go 90%. And I'm like, is the game broken? Because I was watching somebody playing the C64 version, and you can move that gauge all the way down. But again, it actually came to me as I was talking to Pix on Discord earlier today, that depending on the club you use is the percentage that you can move that bar up and down. So the longer your irons, when you get down to the wedges, you can move it down to 20%.
Yeah, it's the ECS OCS version. I mean, I agree with you. You certainly have more control over your shots in terms of on your stroke and your power. It's way more. You've got a very finite level, but the flip side of it is it's painfully difficult. And everything you said, I agree with, including the putting, because here's what I think happened. I think when they got to the putting, they realized, oh my God, people are going to be. They're going to be going nuts trying to get here. Let's not make this difficult, because if you look at the putting on the greens, I've never found the greens to be super difficult. And what you have to do is when you start putting is on the little gauge that fills up. One thing I learned quick is that thing is super. I mean, I always tried to underhit, because it seemed like that you could really crush the ball if you let that thing go up to us. So anytime I thought I'd look at the gauge and think, okay, I need to go about halfway, then I would hit it about 2 notches below halfway, and I would get it in. And the ball does seem to have whole radar. I didn't have a lot of hangers. They usually would go in, you know. But the approaches were just brutal. And now I will say, could I get par? Yeah, occasionally. Were there holes where I would hit 8 strokes? Oh, yeah. Were there holes that I went under par? No. I don't think. I'm not sure I ever
it's really
went
hard.
under
It's
par.
really hard to hit under par, especially like if you're playing the ECS OCS version because you're so limited. Unless you just have those magic quick fingers and you can hit that driver, you're limited. For example, like the shortest club I could hit was the 7-iron. Like I couldn't go down because it basically the 4, 5, and 6 are all the same length in the shaded box. The 7-iron was the first where I could actually double click fast enough to get the shot off without hooking or slicing.
Let me ask you a question. Now, the CD32 version of this has the 2 courses. It's got, and I should mention what the courses are here. I've got it written down here. So the courses these are real courses. I think the Royal Palms and the Cheswick National. Okay, these are the courses on CD32 version. And I know the Palms is on the OCS ECS. Was there just one course on the OCS? I think there was just the one course on that one. I'm pretty sure because it always defaulted me to that one. I don't recall having the ability to switch.
That's a great question. I can't recall right offhand because the 2 versions of the game, aside from the mechanics, sort of blend themselves together for me. So
I will. Let's move on to that. I mean, you got anything else to say about the OCS version? We'll move on to the CD32 version.
Well, actually, yes. The one thing that I noticed, and I don't know if this is because of the way that WHD works, but I found the loading times to be less on the ECS OCS version than the CD32 version. Now, I'm using emulation, so take that with a huge grain of salt. But I thought that was interesting.
I will say I played this on the Amiga. I thought the differences as we go into the CD32 version, I thought the differences graphically were pretty striking. Actually, I thought the AGA CD32 version just looked better.
Yeah,
better resolution. It had better animation for the golfer. It looked good, but I mean, it wasn't it wasn't a quantum leap. Like if you're playing the OCS version,
I agree with you.
You're fine.
It does look markedly better for sure. This is not one of those typical AGA enhancements that you get with Amiga. This game really looks better.
Now, let's get to the nitty gritty here. When you go, what are the differences play wise? Well, Boat went over a lot of them here, but just to go into it a little bit more. The control mechanism on this, it really is like this shows you how much you can change a golf game just by fiddling with the little gizmo. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because it plays a lot different.
100% of a golf game is the gizmo.
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. That's the golf game.
In this one, like Boat said, you've got the bar, and you hit the button. This one has the wrist snap. This one the shot power. It's all in the one single bar. With the hook or slice, if you click before or after the perfect zone where you're supposed to click to get to hit the shot.
It's a 2-click meter.
Right. I found this easier, obviously, than the ECS OCS, but this still was no walk in the park. I still had trouble. I hooked a lot of shots. I have to say, I really did, and it was driving me nuts. And I will say, you've got one thing these games have is that you get to pick your caddy. I wanted to get into this before I forgot. I usually went with Fanny, the chick caddy, because I like her
that's
accent.
an expletive in England.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
We think about that as being like one of the most innocent words, but it's like it's a no word.
Yeah, but she was a British girl in the game.
But I don't think so. I don't think she was.
She was. She had a British accent. Trust me,
That's
I know.
Weird.
I played with her a lot. But there's another guy. I think it was Bill. These caddies they all were jerks. All right.
I'm glad that you thought that too. Your caddy is not there to tell you how much you suck. Your caddy is there to encourage you. And when you hit a good shot, to tell you good shot. Not in this game. In this game, they're on you all the time.
They're relentless. Relentless jerks. I didn't think, and I thought Fanny was easier to deal with than the other caddy, but that could. I mean, I think it was Bill. He was the ultimate jerk caddy. Mm-hmm. He was just everything he said.
You're gonna have to break out the machete.
Yeah, and also you get sick of hearing that crap over and over, especially when you're in the rough for the 50th time. It's like that was a rough shot. Har hardy har har. But
when you hit a good shot, like when you hit it straight down the fairway, dead silence.
Yeah,
they say nothing.
Yeah, no kidding. Now this game has, and both of them had this, but this game has some interesting things that I like. If you're on the main shot page, you can move your cursor to the left or right, and it's got the fold out sides. That's a cool way to do this, Boat. I like that. I like the fact that you could always have a look at the map where you're at on the map. It also had the wind direction and the ball lie, and the lie actually was telling in this because it would have different pictures of the kind of grass you were in, or the kind of surface you were on, or sand or whatnot, which is cool. And then if you whip out the other blade on the left side, it just had all your club selections, which is also cool. So that's a thumbs up for me. Here's what I didn't like: the little cursor you move around. It's always a little arrow until you get it to a certain point where it turns into a little like gauge, and that's when you.
Yeah, it's context sensitive.
It drove me nuts because I kept, for one thing, anytime the gauge was on the screen, I would go over and try to click the gauge. I didn't like that much. I mean, it's not the worst, but I didn't like it. Also, the little crosshairs you've got, they didn't really. I wouldn't say they're the best for aiming.
Yeah, I don't understand. That part of things was a little bit, because it's like you can aim your guy with the two arrows at the top, but then you've also got the crosshairs, and sometimes I was unsure about which was doing what.
Well, here's my thing: we both have played leaderboard a lot, right? And World Class Leaderboard has a system where you can of aiming that's way better than this one. The arrow parts are the same, but the aiming, the little square, I mean, that thing is just. It's just low rent. I just didn't like the little crosshair. I didn't like it. And even when you're putting, something else that's just sort of hard to get it to go where you want it to go. It's like real touchy. You know, did you have that problem with it?
I did. I had that. That was probably one of the weaker parts of the game. You know, once we get into the CD32 version with the more modern, gauge, that crosshair, I was hoping that would be one of the things that they kind of put to bed.
Yeah, they kept that one. How much did you fiddle with the stance? And the ball, the back spin and front spin?
I didn't do anything with the. I think that what the B and T is how far you are, where you are in relation to the ball as you're standing over it. I'm not sure. Oh no, I guess maybe it is back spin and top spin. I got to be honest with you, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But what I did mess with was the stance, because I noticed in my quest to hit the driver straight, I was like, well, maybe if I, put a little fade in my stance, if I open up a little bit, then I can compensate.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit of compensation, but not nearly enough to correct the problems that I was having hitting the driver.
I also fiddle with the stance, and I wasn't 100% sure exactly, and I'm not a big enough golf fan to sit here and say, oh, here's the problem. You need to move your front foot forward or open it up. The manual had some stuff on that, but I didn't necessarily. It didn't do anything for me. So eventually, I just stopped fooling with it. I'll be honest with you.
But basically, what I found was that if I hit 7-iron, then I could get on the green and I could either get par or bogey, as long as like nothing went incredibly wrong, or if the wind didn't pick up and I forgot to look at the wind and it blew me all over the place. But like, I found that it was this game wasn't too much of a challenge to do okay at, but the problem was that I wasn't playing the game that they designed, because obviously you don't design a golf game for a player to only be able to use the 7-iron and the pitching wedge and the putter, which is all that I was using. You want the player to be able to use all the clubs, and when the player can't physically hit the ball with, that's a big problem.
Were you using the 7-iron strictly on the basis that it was easier to get a good swing than it was with the driver?
Yeah, because I could hit it straight. I could hit it straight.
Listen, I didn't do that. I will say I've never used my wedges as much as I did in this game. If I was anywhere near I would, because I was scared to use other clubs, like you said. But I never hooked so much. This game is punishing. If you don't hit that bar, that little sweet spot perfectly, it doesn't just sort of hook, or it crushes you.
And it's like a 1 pixel wide line that you have to hit perfectly.
It is tough. It's super tough to get in there and to do it. But I still, all that said, I thought the game's presentation was okay. I thought the options. I like when you put your bag together. That was kind of neat, although sort of pointless, because you've got
the games that do that. And a lot of computer games, golf games do, and a lot of console golf games do too. I never understood. Maybe you really just have to get up into the upper echelon Because really, if you play in computer golf, there's reasons for this to do this in real golf, because 1 irons and 2 irons are just almost impossible to hit. And so what you want to do is, unless you're at the highest level, you're going to want to use some hybrid clubs, or you're going to want to use like the 3 wood and the 5 wood, and maybe even a 7 wood or something in between. And so I can understand why you'd want to do that in real life, but in a golf game like this, like, it's just as easy to hit a 1 iron as it is a 4 iron. So why would you not want to just pick the clubs that gave you all the distances?
I wonder why. Something else this didn't have that I couldn't figure out was, now, of course, if you get the manual, first of all, this is another game where the manual is, if you're not like a hardcore golfer, the manual is a must, because it does list the distances in there, which of course I had to go look.
Yeah.
I had a decent idea, but my memory is not the best. But why don't I have like that kitty, difficulty?
Fanny?
I mean, like, for
I
example,
thought you were talking about your caddy when giving you the club links.
well, now, why don't you just have like a version of this where they when to shut off, and they tell you the club, they automatically pick the club you want. That's just sort of easy. I mean, it's sort of something you would expect. At least till you forget because this is such a difficult game to play. You really need some every break
but
you
you've got to
can.
look at the time period this game was released in. I mean, no golf games did that. That wasn't until much later.
Well,
when you got
as I
automatic
recall,
club selection.
leaderboard would give you the club that it would recommend your next club. It would set you on the club you were supposed to use.
Would they?
So
Okay,
I think
maybe
so.
I'll have to go back. Okay.
So, because I mean, it's hard to remember what all those clubs' links are. Of course, I didn't get to play this multiplayer or anything like that. But I mean, these golf games, it all comes down to the gizmo and how it looks and how it plays. And overall, I thought it was okay. Would this be the game I would go back to? I'm like you. I didn't like this as much as PGA. I didn't like this as much as, I'm trying to think of, I thought this was better than Sim Golf. I didn't like that, but I would put this at sort of the middling range of the golf games I've played on the Amiga. Now, like I said, I think it runs as a good clip, but it's not without its charm. But I mean, overall, it didn't do it for me. It just, when you continuously suck, it's hard. Now, again, if we'd played this for weeks and weeks, and maybe we'd gotten a little bit better, but I just didn't. It wasn't fun to me to hit the gizmo. It was frustrating.
That's the thing, is that I wouldn't get any better at this game. Like, there's no way that I can physically increase the speed of my double click on the mouse. And so I would never be able to play the ECS OCS version the way it was intended. Now, could I have gotten better at the CD32 version? Yeah, probably. I think it's worth talking about what makes this game and, computer golf games in general different than their console contemporaries, because as we're getting into 94 here, we're well into the 16-bit era. We're knocking on the PlayStation era. And there are a couple things that just really, really bug me about playing pretty much every golf game on the Amiga. One is that the loading times are really annoying. When you're used to playing on the arcades a game like Turf Masters, but really any console game, and the loading times are just instant. If you screw up a shot, you're ready to go right away. You're not watching your golfer fade into the blackness as the next scene loads. And that's really annoying. They got really old really quick. Another thing is the lack of background music. I mean, what are we doing here on the CD32 with the freaking Red Book audio and all that stuff? Why do we not have the Nick Faldo theme at least being an option? The opening theme of this game is great. Bum, bam, bam, bam. It's my kind of music.
Yeah.
I want to hear that, You don't get any option. And the sound effects in this game are ultra weak. You get like once every couple minutes, you get some sort of unholy squawk from some bird of unknown origin. It takes you out of the experience, and it makes you not want to play the game anymore. Not to mention, then you hear your caddy, chiming in with their lovely voice samples. So that's where this game really falls short. Those two things: the load times and the lack of background music and the sound effects.
Now, I will say, having played this off the WHD load, I don't know if this thing had CD music and it was ripped out or not. I don't know personally, so I can't say. It is funny that because of the guy that did the music for this is actually a guy that we've seen plenty of times. His name was Matthew Simmons. He did the music on Agony, which I like that. Chuck Rock, Dizzy, and the Micro Machines game. He did a bunch of the Dizzy games. So this guy's got to, and like you said, the opening tune is good, but does this have CD audio? Redbook, I don't know. Like I said, some of that
it's
stuff
always
gets
hard to
ripped
tell
out.
with CD32 stuff, unless you're doing it on the real thing.
It's
I
sort
agree.
of a moot point for a modern Amiga player because that's what we've got. And so unless you have the disc for this, then you're pretty much stuck with what's in there. That didn't. I don't mind not having music for golf game, to be honest with you, because I kind of like. I wish it had more background noise. Occasionally, like you hear something splash when you get near the water. I mean, it wasn't completely devoid of noise, but
No, well, that's the thing. Like, it was just enough to be annoying in my mind. Like, I would rather it be just like you hear just, sort of like woodland sounds, like pretty much nonstop, or at least once every 5 or 10 seconds. But this was like once every minute and a half, you'd hear just some sound and you'd be like, holy cow, what's going on? Like it was just really jarring.
Now, I've got up here, Boat. You also played another golf game this week, and it's up to watch on our YouTube channel, and that was this IRM Skins game on the Super Nintendo, and you played these to sort of compare and contrast, right? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, so this game came out in 1992. So this game came out at the same time as the ECS OCS version of Nick Faldo, and the Skins game is it's just a better game. It's a more evolved golf game than 92 version of Nick Faldo's golf. I mean, they'd already established, what has become the standard swing meter. IRM, of course, very famous Japanese arcade. I'm sure that this is based off of a arcade property. But you could see just how much more evolved the console games were in the golf space than on the computers. And it's unfortunate because I was looking at this and I'd never heard of this game. In fact, I don't remember ever playing any golf on the Super Nintendo at all. When I fired this up, I was like, holy cow! I mean, this is like 8/10 of Turf Masters, which is like the greatest golf game of all time. So I was pleased to find this, but this is just another one of those nail in the coffins for the people that were holding on to their computers. When you see an experience like this on a console, you're like, well, maybe it's time to jump ship.
Console golf games are, and including Turf Masters, it's sort of a different. I don't want to say it's arcade versus simulator, because it's not.
Well, it's not.
It's not.
Yeah, there are less choices to make, but the choices that you have in a game like Faldo are dumb choices.
Right.
So,
well, and also, I mean, this, of course, I'm not going to say this is the quintessential PC golf game, but the one thing that IRM has here, and some of the better console golf games are, they remember that it's supposed to be fun and not, and they try to make it less painful to do things. And I do appreciate that. I actually had I had a round of Skins game, and I thought it was really good. I was surprised. I'd not played this one before. So that was a good find, Boat. And I think comparing these two, given the time frame, is it's appropriate to see what was going on in the consoles while we were and what we were doing on the PC. I think of the two, I would probably go back to Skins game before I would play Faldo. But there you go. So let's look at this game's reviews here. I had a look to see how they did. Now, on the CD32, which again, this is the one I focused on, it got decent reviews. It's funny, I looked at the back of this box, Bo. I don't know if you saw the actual box for Nick Faldo, but the back of the box, it has this line of gold coins with these ratings in it. It's like 9 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Like, hey, I don't know where these came from. I couldn't read them. The pictures was too blurry. But I can tell you what it received on the actual magazine. So a lemon gives the CD32 version of this thing a 7.59. Now have we ever heard of this magazine, Boat? Amiga Down Under. Have you ever heard of that one? Yeah, well, it's here.
Yeah, must be from Vietnam.
Yeah, Amiga Down Under gave this an 80. Amiga Format gave it an 82. Amiga Joker gave it an 80. Amiga Power gave it an 88. Do you see a trend here?
Yeah.
See Amiga gave it an 83, and the one gave it a 90%. That's your ECS, or that's your CD32 version. Now, I also had a look just to see how it fell for the other one. For the OCS ECS, it got a 7.57 on Lemon. and it got better scores, I think, across the board than the CD32 version had. Now, of course, keeping in mind this came out, a couple years earlier.
Right.
But I'm not going to read all these, but basically I'm looking at upper 80s and into the 90s for the most part on this one.
Well, it seems like from the scores that you read on the other one, they both got, upper 80s and 90s for the majority.
Right.
I
this
think that
this one, the original scored a little higher, but I would say that I would recommend the CD32 version a lot more than I would recommend that one.
Yeah, unless you really want a challenge, and maybe I'd like to see the Brent try this one because he's the fastest finger around here to see if he can get that double click in that box. But this is a game that I don't hate. Like there are several sort of major flaws in it, but this is a game that drew me back time after time over the course of the week because first of all, I love golf games, so that has a lot to do with it. If there's a golf game, I'll play it. But another thing was I just kept thinking there's got to be something more to it than this. And when I discovered about the power on the swing, and I just was physically unable to hit the driver, that was sort of the end for me.
There were two things I wanted to mention before we move on to the Discord reviews. If you're playing this on a CD32, I looked up the controls to see what they were because again, you can use a joystick on the CD32 version without any problem. But just in case you've got a CD32 or you've got a CD32 controller hooked up, you've got the other buttons. Your main button, it just does all your work. But the other buttons have the world's wackiest options. One of the buttons turns sound on and off. One of them, this is one we could have used, turns the caddy on and off. I like the fact that they've mapped that to one of the main buttons. One of the buttons swaps you into CPU control. So if you don't want to dig yourself out of that sand, let the computer do it for you.
Interesting.
Yeah, one of them, this is a dangerous one. It takes you back to the main menu. But the one I want to talk about was your upper left. If you're playing this on the CD32, if you hit that button, you will switch to mouse control. I will say, Bo did all of his CD32 play with mouse, and I used my joystick for all mine. So I can tell you from using the joystick that I'd rather use the mouse. I can tell you that firsthand, but it's still something to think about when you get this. The other thing I wanted to mention real quick, and just because we hadn't discussed it, is getting caught in the rough or in sand. How many times did you swing that freaking club and not move a bit?
Right.
Because it is not easy to get out of the rough, especially get out of sand.
Yeah,
and
one of the things that Pix told me about is that he's owned this game since day one. He was first in line to get on board with the Faldo.
Yeah,
and he told me that it was very important to broaden your stance in the sand, which I didn't know. I neglected to read that part of the manual.
Oh, good tip. But did we get any Discord action on this?
We did. In fact, we got a review right here from the one and only Pixels at Dawn.
Good timing.
He says, why do you even need to play the game when you can just pour yourself a drink and chill out to the menu music? I agree. But seriously, I was a fan of Faldo's in my teens, so of course I own the big box version of this game. They really tried hard to differentiate themselves from other golf games, which adds to the simulation feel, but unfortunately mostly just makes it too hard. Clubs all have their own difficulty. Stance is really important for handling bunkers for the first time ever, and the swing meter is unique. It's doable in amateur mode with a bit of practice. You're even giving bigger hit zones and infinite mulligans. Why is that not the default? But even then, I had to rediscover my old two-handed mouse technique to successfully drive. He described this to me. He would hold the mouse in sort of a stationary position with his right hand, and then put his left finger over the mouse button, and then hit the mouse button with his left finger. How about that, huh?
Wacky.
This is not a game for the faint of heart, but it does look decent, and I still enjoy playing it, even if it's a little quiet out on the course. And how many golf games let you play on Mars? That's one thing that we forgot to mention. If you type in the code Major Tom on the menu screen, you're taken off to a red shaded course that looks like you're playing on the surface of Mars. You're the gravity is all messed up, and your caddy is turned into a fish, which I think I would enjoy a fish caddy much more than any of the ones supplied to me in the normal game.
I agree.
Paul, a.k.a. Hermsky, writes, a firm yawn.
Oh.
Now show me the way to the 19th.
Wow.
And that's going to do it for the Discord reviews this week.
There you go. I will say to close shop up on this, I did have a look on eBay, Bo, if you want to pick this bad boy up. Plenty of good Nick Faldo boxes still available out there. If you're in the UK, you're laughing. You can get these boxed, $8 for the discs all day long with the disc and box. If you want the CD32 version in the UK, you're looking at somewhere in the ballpark of 23 US buckaroo dues, Boatster. Not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got a couple other things to talk about today, Aaron. We got a package in the mail. Little Amigos unboxing time.
Oh, well, you talk about, I've got a letter here. I've got a letter right here. Is that what you're talking about?
No. Well, I mean, did this letter go with the package that I picked up from you?
Oh, no. I forgot about that. Yeah, go ahead, Bo. Let's talk about that first.
Okay. So this comes to us from listener David Z. David Z, a great supporter of the Amigos podcast and all its various forms. And inside, I've got a. This is
wow.
Yeah. This looks like something that I'd put together, is like a Starship model kit. So I don't know what this is. Yeah, it's 3D printed.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool looking. So maybe all will be revealed if I dig deeper in here.
Oh yeah.
So coming up next, we've got some magazines, Aaron. Amiga Active.
Oh yeah.
Amiga Active, remember that one?
Yeah, I've got a bunch of those over here.
Yeah,
Dave hit the mother load of magazines. He sent us a bunch of those. We're gonna give some of those away, Bo, hopefully in the near future.
Yeah, a bunch of Amiga Active magazines. Here's an Amiga Format, the world's best-selling Amiga magazine. So looking forward. I always love looking through Amiga magazines, and I must say that after reading some of the British Amiga magazines, I'm going to stick with the US ones. Even though the British ones are more gaming focused, they're also more like 12-year-old boy focused. And these, which are more on the utility side, at least I'll probably be able to read without throwing up.
Oh my gosh, you're tough, Boat.
So we've also got, check this out, Aaron. This is the Lord of the Rings official game secrets. I remember playing the Lord of the Rings on a stream, and it is one of the worst games that I've ever played in my life. And so the Super Nintendo game Lord of the Rings. So maybe with this strategy guide, I'll be able to finally conquer its secrets. So
is that the SNES strategy guide?
Yeah, this is the Super Nintendo version.
I see. Very good.
Well, it actually says it includes the Super Nintendo version, so maybe there was an Amiga version too. I don't know. I'll have to read more. Okay, up next, this is the Book of Adventure Games 2 by Kim Chouette. And this is a DM guide, Aaron. So this is
really?
I think. Hold on a second. I don't know what this is. Introduction. Let me just look at this real quick. Okay. So adventure is, I don't know what this is, Aaron. I'm sorry.
Hold it up again, Boat. Let me see what that is.
Yeah, it's just called the Book of Adventure Games, and it has a bunch of maps in it. Maybe this is like these are like old mainframe adventure games that have been ported to various systems, and these are the maps that go with it. Because there are all these maps in here, and so maybe this is like maybe Zork is in here or stuff like that. Oh yeah, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is in here. That's what this is. So if you are into like old school text adventure games and you don't want to take the trouble to map this stuff out on your own, like me, this sounds like a winner.
That's awesome.
This is exactly what this is. So I bet there's some Coco stuff in here too, man. You never know. So keep on checking that out.
Very good. Dave
all right,
knows
but we're
what
not.
To do. I like that.
That's right. We're not done yet. Wrapped in bubble wrap here. We've got a this is the thing that I've been waiting for, Aaron. This is the A1000 Gotek mount with the OLED screen.
Nice.
No more segment and number pad for me. I'm all in on this thing. So I will be hooking that up post haste. And next week, instead of the Amiga 1000 that you see behind you disassembled, you will see it running fully with something going on the screen. So
I may have to get
thank
me
you,
one
David,
of those,
for that.
Because I've got the segmented screen, and I put my Gotek in sketchy tech style, if you know what I mean. So
yeah. Everybody remembers the Sketchy Tech 1000. It's a legend.
Oh, yeah.
All right, and something very appropriate for me, getting the most from your Commodore 64.
There you go. Well, you do have that PAL 64. So
you know, it's funny. I've got it set up right here, and
I see
I've
that.
I've got some C64 games running in the background too. So looking forward to delving into that. And finally, Aaron, make sure there's nothing else in here. We got a couple other things. We've got this is the these are the memory module covers for the A1000. So
Beautiful.
not John Marshall, sorry, Kilobytes and Caffeine gave us that A1000, and it's missing the memory module cap.
Yeah.
So I'll be able to snap that on there, and no one will ever be the wiser.
Nice.
So,
That's 3D printed as well. He's the king. I've got a whole
he is
box
the
of
king.
his work over here.
And finally, Aaron, we've talked about this over and over again. This is the ultimate, the rotary knob, Aaron. Who wants a rotary knob? I do. This is it for the GoTech. So
Very good.
thank you, David. Very awesome package.
Dave set you up, my friend.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Dave, for that. You know, Bo, we also got a letter this week. In fact, here's the envelope. Let me switch it over to Still Store Cambot. There's your envelope there to me. I guess I probably shouldn't show my address out there, but heck, there it is. Anyway, this is a letter from our good buddy, Craig Marshall. And I wanted to
Marshall.
Wanted to read a little bit of this, and here's his letter here. Oh, and he's got a cool picture on the back. I just noticed that it's got an IBM, old school IBM on the back of his car.
Oh man,
I love that boat.
Nice.
He says, "Greetings from Australia. I certainly enjoy what you lads do each week / random days of uploads. That's true. I enjoy the Amiga stuff the most, but as a lad that had a TRS-80, so I have a soft spot for that as well. Bit of exposure to the Sinclair and love the C64 action as well." He says, "Slowly but quickly have found myself back into the retro action. Someone gave me a Commodore 286-16 boat, which was going to the tip, and it had California games on it. And just like that, I got the Pi set up and have been plowing through games like no tomorrow. I got an A1200. Now get this, in parentheses it says AGA is the blank. So he likes AGA boat. He's got a C64.
Is that what he meant?
No, he loves it. Got an Atari 2600 and television, a Mega Drive, and quite a few old Macs. And he has, he goes on, he's a real nice letter here. I'm not going to read all of this on the air, but he does include something interesting here. Let me find the bit where he talks about this. He got a few stickers in here. They were designed for the back of your car to replace those gaudy family stick figure stickers. Did you ever have any of those, Boat? I never got into those.
No.
Everyone's got them here. He goes, I had a bunch done. So let's look at these stickers. I'm going to hold them up, Boat. I haven't even looked at these. Oh, these look great. I don't know how these are going to show up on the camera. That is if you can look, that's a Nintendo. See it?
Mm-hmm.
And then
I see it.
You've got a, this is nice, Boat. These are, this is a Sinclair. See that? It's a ZX.
Yeah,
these look great.
Very
man.
Cool.
This looks like a C64.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can barely. Once you put these on a car,
you
can
can't
see
really
it.
see these at all. But yeah,
here's a Coco. See the Coco right there?
It looks like a white sheet of paper with some dots on it.
I
but
can
once
see
it's
it.
on your car,
I'm looking at it.
It's on
you
your
can see
car,
it.
It's going to be great.
Here's an Atari 2600. That with the little switches. And then lastly, he sent us a either a C6020 or a VIC, a C64 or a VIC. So that's awesome, man. I appreciate that, and we will definitely stick those on some stuff. And thanks for sending us something from down under. And I'm also jealous of your Commodore PC. Those are kind of neat. I always kind of wanted one of those, Boat.
Yeah. Well, you had the hard drive, but you let it go.
Had to make that bank, yo.
I understand. All right, Aaron. Coming up next on the show, we should probably delve into our community segment. You know, we've had several high score challenges end and several begin. So the latest game that just closed was Hypersports. It closed last week, and Z9K9 overcame a field of champions to reign supreme with a score of 272,858. So congratulations to Z9K9 for winning the Hypersports Challenge. Our current challenge, which is round 13, Chase HQ, Aaron. This closes Sunday, December 13th. This is when I'm going to have to jump in here and get a score in, because I love me some Chase HQ.
We played both these on the show.
That's what they're doing, is they're going through all the old episodes. And
I see.
The high score challenges off there.
We sucked at Chase HQ, Boat, as I recall. We were horrible at that game.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a hard game,
Yeah, it
especially
is.
when you suck. So we thank Frodo and L for setting this up and running the R Sinclair Specky High Score Challenge. On the Amiga side, just opened today, Aaron. Galactic, the Christmas edition, is the Amigos High Score Challenge for this month. It closes the 8th of January, 2021. This is a game I am not familiar with. This was picked by Z9K9 for winning the previous challenge. So Z9K9 cleaned up both of the high score challenges this past week, Aaron. He won both the Spectrum and Smarty and the Nasty Gluttons, the high score challenge on that. So
He's a
congratulations.
tremendous competitor, Boat.
He is. So congratulations to him and all the fine folks who contributed. We've always got people throwing in scores on these events. And if you would like to participate, all you have to do is become a member of our Discord server. And you can do that by supporting the show either through Patreon or through Twitch.
Very good. Very good, Boat.
Speaking of Patreon, Aaron, last week we had what I thought was a pretty obscure song, although I was very happy that we had some winners this week. Now I'm going to tell you the first two words of the band name, and you complete it for me, Aaron. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Bell and
DeVoe.
You got it. Bell and DeVoe. The last week's Patreon song was "The State That I Am In" by Bell and Sebastian. You big Bell and Sebastian fan, Aaron? They seem like your kind of music.
It sounds like somebody that would sell me like a water heater.
Like Bell and Howell.
Mm-hmm.
So want to congratulate Jigglebox, Figgy CTZ. Figgy CTZ and I, we have very similar musical tastes, by the way.
I can't believe somebody got that.
And Paul Marfleet.
Four people got that?
Yeah. That's
God.
More people that got Margaritaville.
I will salute
Think about
you.
that.
That is
that.
a cultural difference there.
Yeah. So, anyway, congratulations to you guys. Good work. And if you know this week's Patreon song, feel free to send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com, and I will read you out as a winner for next week's episode. Hit my music.
What do you think so far?
Man, it's great.
Data Dog, Heavy Systems Inc. Bundy Frag Lord, Mark Byland, Olaf Hope. Hermsky Jonah, aka Simulant, Ethan Little. Alien Breeder. David Lost, a Raptor, Cowbird Boy, Lane Denson. Luke Hudson, John Cook, on the bass, Roshi. Frodo and El Sol, and Sizer Tech Mage Jurgen. Mr. Cola. And Daniel Williams, Bernard Lucas. And Jerry Dennington, Zorglub, Commodore Kid. Reflection, Simon Ledge. Cap and Crispy. Kilobytes and Caffeine. Gary Heather. Free Lunch, Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong. Andy Jones, Lobsterminator, 10-minute Amigo Retrocast. Bernard Quinn, RMC, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, and Joseph Harrison, Kyle Rob O'Hara, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig, Sean Zoe, Bachbeat, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, Leaf Killand, Alan Kebab, Checo Tate, Levelor John, Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRoche, Creepy Dead Boy, Biggie C to Z, Slow Norris, Stefan Sorgard Mortensen, Edvin Helen Blindo 75, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foltz, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vebke, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, Paul Bossman, Harrington, Duncan Styles, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nat, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy, Humbert Stad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warnes, Pixels of Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
Beautiful, my friend. Even I knew that one.
All right. Well, that is, like I said, if you know that one, then it is John at AmigosPodcast.com.
Everyone knows this one. You got to be, when I can figure it out.
It's so funny. We were just talking. We were talking during the break, and Aaron knew it immediately. And again, I just think it's one of those cross-Atlantic differences. You know,
the second you hit the first chord, I was like, I know what that is instantly.
Yeah.
You know, so there you go.
All right, Aaron. So next week on the Amigos Everything Amiga podcast, we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about Seymour Goes to Hollywood. Okay. We do want to thank Cameron Armstrong for suggesting Nick Faldo's Championship Golf to the Amigos Game Selection Committee. And we want to, of course, thank them for voting on it. Next week is Seymour Goes to Hollywood. This one was picked by Simulant. Been in the news a lot lately for the Amiga Addict magazine that is going to be coming out soon. And, of course, we got to thank all the fine folks that support the show through Twitch. You know, there's lots of ways that you can kick in a little bit if you enjoy the show. If you got something against Patreon, no problem. You know, lots of people do. You can support the show by subscribing through Twitch. Or there's also a PayPal link right there on everythingamiga.com/support. So if you just want to kick in a couple bucks, if you watch every single week and you're in the chat room and you're like, man, these guys are awesome, I should probably do something to continue them on, there would be nothing finer than a one-way trip to the Parkway Diner. We want to thank Frodo NL, David Zinaz, Tom Pops, Hermsky, Gimlet72, Air Jury, Judge Dave, Graham NCFC, Dave Velociraptor, Mitsuyama, Wishbone, A.B. Sure, Pints and Amiga, Jugglebox, Tenmark, Edvin Helland, Sigur Bjorn L, Mr. Cola, of course, Chris Folds, Buck Owens, Wolf Adon, Lamatza, Litwarski, RMC Retro, Spy Hunter UK 2016, Negsol, Duncan Styles, Morifumi, David's Donuts, Old Bee Sturgeon, Uber Scuba Diver, Pixels at Dawn Gaming, Hasifa, Rob O'Hara, Coconut 81, Macintosh Librarian, Gary Heather, Wing Chun Wolf, Christian Russell, 10_foil, and Fidarta.
Very good.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for supporting Amigos on Twitch. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Oh boy. It's been something, Aaron. We talked much more about Nick Faldo than I thought we could, but we really, you know, when it comes to golf games, I got lots of opinions.
That's right. I wish I could golf as well in real life as I can on the video game, but
me too, man.
I'm too lazy to get out and go out too. There's also that.
Well, we will see you next week for Seymour Goes to Hollywood. Thank you guys as always for listening. Oh, never mind. I was getting ready to close the show, but I can't close the show yet, Aaron, because we've not recognized the fine folks that are watching us live in real time. We record this show every Friday between 4 and 6-ish in the Eastern time. You can work that out wherever you are in the world. But we've always got a nice crowd that hangs out with us. We really enjoy watching them, watching them chat away. And they actually provide us with a lot of information that we were able to use on the show. So we appreciate that as well.
They're our safety net boat. Let's face facts here. They keep us from being complete idiots.
We want to thank Duncan Styles, and Pixels at Dawn Gaming, our two moderators of record. They are amazing folks. Thank you guys so much. And of course, we've got the other guys in the chat and ladies: Atten, Barkbit, Casino Thanks, Commander Root, Duke L. Hudson, Eeyore 4077, Frodo NL, Gary, Heather, Jigglebox, Hermsky, Ice Wizards, Inventkin, Joinafort, Jost 80, Kasserin, L. Curtis B, Mitsuyama, M. Kelly0904, Mr. Linus, Mr. Cola, Olaf Hope, Paul Kitching, Picard 2010, R. Typer, Rob, Flack, O'Hara, Tom Toms, Dicker, Uber Scuba Diver, VNK, Vigoro Pros, and Z9K9. Thank you guys so much for being here and being with us as we record the show.
Thank you very much, fellas. We appreciate it.
All right, now I'm closing it down, Aaron. We will see you guys next week for Seymour Goes to Hollywood. We'll see you next time. Until then, adios.